Hello everybody, Napkin99 here, and welcome back to the Minecraft Let's Play series. Today we're going to be continuing on our roadmap that we started last episode, moving on to page 2 this time, so we got our concrete already. So now we're going to be doing bulk smelting, which of course means we're going to be building a super smelter, which I've already kind of gone ahead and built off camera, but we will be decorating it on camera. So I guess let's start the usual way by giving us a floor to work with so we can actually walk around here. So this is going to be another orange building because orange is kind of my theme for everything that needs hardened or smelted or fire or whatever. It's kind of just a random theme. I haven't used copper in my base before and I don't actually have any honeycombs to wax it with yet, so we're just going to have to kind of keep on top of it and hope it doesn't oxidize too much. And now we're going to go down onto the rails here. You can see our copper floor right there. And we're going to kind of create a little wall here to cover our redstone. So we'll do white concrete for most of it. And then we'll do a ring of orange to kind of get some color in there. The sea lantern in the middle for some light. There we go. And we're actually going to continue this orange ring along this back wall behind where the rails are. And we'll do that on both sides. So that's actually pretty much it for the pit part here. So let's go ahead and make one of our factory walkways across the pit. And now we're going to go ahead and outline a few windows on both sides of the pit. And they'll kind of line up with where these little pillars are. So we'll have 2 3-wide windows and a 2-wide window. And we'll just build up a frame a few blocks. And then we'll round it out at the top. And we are probably going to have to do some terraforming here, because we are getting a little close to the cave ceiling, which is a little problem with this area. It's very open, but it's not very tall over here. Okay, so several hours of terraforming this cave later, we now have a little more space to work. I raised up the ceiling over here and dug out a little space to the side, because we do have some more plans for over there. We opened up this whole cavern over here, removed a couple of the pillars, and we also made use of this geode over here. So before, it was kind of just a big blob kind of sticking out in the middle of nowhere. So we actually brought this cave wall forward a little bit, about to the center on the bottom of the geode. And then we opened it up, cut out about a quarter of it, and made this nice little open geode in the side of the cave here. And I think it turned out pretty nice. We actually have some torches inside of there, which is what's creating this little ring of light, and I think that looks pretty cool in there. Anyways, let's finish framing out our smeltery here. So we're going to get back on top of our windows, and we're going to put a beam of deep slate up here. And then we're going to connect all these pillars together with a little arch. I think will look pretty nice. And then for our ceiling slash roof, we're going to be following suit with the rest of our base and just doing the same color as the rooms. We're going to be doing orange concrete up here. And for the windows in here, I actually want to use tinted glass instead of our usual colored glass, so that the light colors outside and inside are a little bit different. It's going to end up being a bit of a darker feel in here. Plus it feels a little more industrial with the tinted glass. As for the collection area, let's go ahead and make a little staircase that drops down real quick. So that way we can be on ground level with these chests, since they do end up going a little bit lower. And I think we'll just do the floor here out of white concrete. Then on the other side over here, we're going to kind of leave this pipe exposed, I think. We're going to do some deep slate over here, kind of mimic the pillars. And then we'll build up some wall around this, but we'll leave the pipe itself exposed. I think that looks fairly decent for that bit. And let's see if we can stick the doorway right here. And maybe make this wall also the outer wall, so we don't have to go too far out here, because I don't want to block this geode as much as possible. Plus we're also getting kind of close to the cave wall over here. Maybe something like this will work for this room in here. It's a little bit odd since this side has all the chests and this side kind of has nothing, but we can probably add some like ender chests or something over here at some point. And I think that will work for the front. We kind of rounded it out a little bit just to kind of smooth it into this smaller point, but I think it looks fairly decent. Now one more thing I want to add onto the side before we can actually call this done are some smokestacks. So they're not actually going to be connected to the building because they have to go a little further out, but we'll probably put some walls or something to kind of show that it's part of this structure still. But the reason we're doing this is because we have these campfires down here. So when our furnace arrays turn on, these blocks will be pulled back and the smoke will be able to go through. Just like that. So now we can see from down the cave a ways whether our items are still smelting or not. So when that smoke stops, we know that our items are done. If it's still going, then we know they're still cooking in there. So the super smelter itself now is pretty much done. I did do a little interesting thing up top here to kind of light up the top instead of torches. I put lanterns so that it looks a little bit more refined instead of just spamming torches all over the roof. They kind of look like little bulb lamps almost that you'd kind of see in a factory, so I think they fit. And we also did some hanging from the arches inside as well, which I think looks pretty good. And let's actually fix our copper here. Can tell we've been working on this for quite a bit. So basically how this works is we put our fuel into this back chest here, and then we put our items to be smelted in the top chest, and then it splits it all up into the furnaces, and overall just ends up smelting items in bulk a lot quicker than it would be just putting it on furnaces normally. And then you'll see when the items get done smelting, they get spit out by the dispensers into the water stream, which ends up at our chest over here. Anyways, now that our super smelter is done, I'm gonna get working on some of the terrain around here, getting more of this moss around here, and actually putting in the first bits of river in our base. And I will be doing this in the form of a time lapse. Alrighty, so our river is all the way in now, at least up to here. But we've got it going back into that part of the cave. It doesn't go too far beyond the super smelter. I am having one little problem here though. So originally when I filled this in, it kept filling in source blocks like all the way up to here at this height. So it was like a big flat line and it looked really bad. So I tried a couple different things to kind of get that nice flow that I wanted. It's not perfect, as you can see there's a bunch of water flowing in different directions, but I think that's the only thing stopping this from creating more source blocks. And I'd like this to be like a 1-block fall, and it's supposed to fall down again here and then here, but I didn't want to touch it anymore and break it, so we're going to leave it how it is for now. And if any of you guys know how I can fix that, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to make this river perfect. And I do have a lot more of it to do eventually, so I do hopefully need to figure something out there. And interestingly enough, we actually found 28 diamond ore while just putting in the river and the moss and stuff, which is very odd considering we only found 3 doing the whole cave terraforming. Anyways, we're not quite done with this part of the cave yet. We still have to make it feel lived in and add some of our modern touches. So we're going to start by making our paths both around the river and down from the super smelter. So we're going to do kind of what we did over by our storage room, where we have the railing around with the deep slate and the cyan glass. But I think we're only going to be doing it at more of the steep parts here, because it does get a little cramped on some of these spots. But like for areas like this where it's pretty flat and there's not a very big drop down into the river, then we'll just leave it open and just have the path going through. Alright, so we got this little railing in. It's kind of wonky since it's such a steep incline, but it works. And now we're going to connect two bridges, one to this side of the river and one to this side of the river. They're both going to be arching over the little stream. And I think we'll do this one on a diagonal, kind of like this. And then this one we will do straight on, like so. Don't think that looks too bad. Now let's go ahead and get the rest of the path in before we start working on some of the other details around here. Alrighty, so the path around is pretty much complete now, and I did leave some moss underneath some of these slabs and stuff. So like this should probably be dirt or more oak wood, but I thought it kind of added like a little mossy feel, kind of overgrown pathway almost. So I left some of that in there. And you've also probably noticed I switched a lot of these torches out for a polished black stone wall with a lantern on top. It makes a nice little light. I could have just done sea lanterns with moss carpet on top for a lot of these, but I thought having the lights visible here would make a lot more sense instead of just a glowing pathway, considering this was more of a sciencey kind of area. So now I want to add a couple little trees. I think we're going to do some like we did in the ocean base, where they're that more manicured type, and I think those are looking good there. I do want to make one change real quick to the super smelter before we move on. I'm liking this angle here. So this is going to be one of our sight lines. And I noticed one little spot that looks a little bland is this white spot on the wall. So I think to fix that, we're just going to add a little window here. Yeah, so I think that looks a little bit better. And then I also want to add a tree somewhere over here. I don't want it to get in the way of our sight line on that building. So we're probably going to start it down here. I think for this one, we're going to go a little more similar to what we did by our house in episode 7. Perhaps a little something like that. I'm not entirely sold on it. I might change out the spruce fences for dark oak fences, but we'll mess around with that later. So I went ahead and added a few more trees along the bank of the river here. And there are two more details I want to add around here. I want to add some flowers just kind of randomly. And then I also want to make some vines out of azalea leaves and flowering azalea leaves, probably climbing up towards the wall here, and maybe even swinging across the ceiling a little bit. And now it is looking very, very lush in here, and I like it. We've got our vines kind of crawling up the walls, and we have a couple looping through from the wall to the cave ceiling over here. And as you can see, I can also put in some flowers in here. I tried doing something a little different than I usually do. I did them in like clusters of a color. So like there's a purplish lavender kind of section over there, then there's a little blue one, and just kind of try to keep them to their own. I think it turns out looking a lot better than just spamming flowers of every color everywhere. Anyways, that's about all we got planned for today. If you did enjoy the video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you take just a moment to leave a like down below, as it lets me know that you enjoy this content and want to see more like it. Overall, I'm really happy with the progress we made today. Feels really good finally seeing a section of the cave fully decorated, as opposed to the gray mess behind me. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.